Welcome back to Cigar Time, your friendly Tuesday night cigar show. I'm Art, and to my right is Rob.
How you doing, everybody?
To his right is Paul.
Hello.
And to his right is Scott.
Evening, everybody.
And to his right is the lovely Miss Tia.
Hi, everybody.
Now tonight we're joined by Caroline and Teresa, who will be presenting us our cigar and cutting them as well.
Yummy.
Very
Ladies?
nice.
Well, the cigar.
Nice.
Very nice.
Maybe cutting my cigar.
Okay.
I
It
don't
might
wanna
be
do a
worth
punch cut.
mentioning
Wait, can I
that
get-
these
get one of my
lovely
own?
cigar
Please? I don't do a
girls
punch cut.
are going to be at our stores
At various times.
various times
Right.
at various
That's
stores
nice.
to visit,
Thank you.
to
Cut
clip your
and light,
cigar
yep.
if you
Cigar
want.
there.
Yep.
There's an extra cigar.
And since we're a full-service cigar store, we'll even smoke the cigar for you if you'd like.
Thank you.
That was supposed to be funny, guys.
It was, actually.
It wasn't bad.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm using a soft flame. There are a couple different ways to
Give me
light
that
your
extra
cigar.
cigar.
A soft flame.
thank you
use
very
a
much.
Match, a torch lighter. I prefer this. I'm usually lighting a cigar inside, so I don't have to deal with the wind. So it's much easier. And I like to toast the cigar for a little bit. Get the embers going all the way around, and then enjoy.
Rob, who was kind enough to lend me his lighter, who, if you probably noticed, owns stock in the butane company. His flame's about 3 feet high. But enough of that. And I think Miss Tia should tell us about our first cigar.
Our first cigar is the Juan Lopez. It's a Nicaraguan Puro because the wrapper, binder, and filler are all Nicaraguan. The sizes are a Selection number 1, which is a 5x54, the number 2, which is 6x54, and the number 3, which is my favorite, the 6x60. The taste profile on this is an aromatic, sweet, woodsy undertones with hints of mocha and nutmeg. So what's the topic today?
Well, our topic today is
Typically
our
written
most
for
embarrassing
me.
cigar moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
On our radio show, you just happened to be absent for that show. And I think everyone should hear what your most embarrassing cigar moment is. Because it is pretty funny.
With the one in the car?
Yeah.
The one in the car. All right.
Now, not everybody make an ash out of themselves all at once.
So
Okay.
I've got a cigar in my mouth. I'm walking from my house out to my car. And I look and I see there's a car right behind me. So I get in, and I must have seen something shiny, is what I do all the time. So I'm, in there, in the car, start it up, go back, put it in reverse. Put it in reverse. And I hit the car parked behind me. And the cigar, flies out of my mouth, and it's dark out. I'm trying to find it, and I grab the cigar, and I put it in my mouth this way, and I burned my lip, and then of course I was on my way here. This is before Colmar was in existence, I think, and I was on my way here, and I had like the whole night I had just ice on my lip. Rob has never let me live it
No,
down.
you'll never live it down. As you will never let me live down mine.
Oh, let's hear yours.
Mine is, we were all sitting around.
Did it involve being in the toilet?
It was not.
Okay.
We were sitting around just smoking, having a good time, and there was a bunch of cigars laying in an ashtray on the edge, and I had no idea which cigar was mine, so I just picked up any cigar and put it in my mouth, and it just happened to be the wrong cigar.
Knowing you, I find that hard to believe because
Yeah.
I know how you are with sanitation.
That's correct.
You
It
know,
was the most disgusting thing ever.
we have somebody in one of our stores that does that all the time, and guys go crazy. He just randomly picks up. He doesn't do it on purpose. He's just kind of an airhead.
Because you don't know where his mouth has been.
Yeah, it was just disgusting.
Actually, I'm
Or worse,
afraid-
you do know where his
Yeah, I'm afraid of
No.
where it's actually been. So
No.
it happens all the time.
Well, I am also a victim of the horrible cigar in the wrong direction.
Ah,
It's amazing that after a few glasses of wine or a few shots of scotch, you can be smoking your cigar happily, and without even thinking about it, it just goes right in your mouth backwards. And the ashes taste disgusting, and it burns your tongue.
Yeah.
I don't care about
And
the
the-
ashes.
And the worst thing about it is no matter what you smoke the rest of that day,
ash.
it's going to
Done.
taste like the wrong
Yeah.
end of the
Yeah,
cigar.
that's
so it wasn't
true.
a very complex smoke, I guess.
No, it was one-dimensional.
One dimensional.
And it was hot. It burned hot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very.
Oh, I don't really have one because I'm perfect now.
And
I just
modest
had
too,
to
I might
say
add.
that.
It's
I
very
just had to
modest.
say that.
Really?
I had to say that just for you, Rob.
Yeah.
No, I do have one. I was at this club, really cool club, and this guy, you could smoke in there, so that was pretty cool. And this guy was, I'm talking with my girlfriend, and this guy just walks up to me like too close. So I said, "Oh, you want to be too close, huh?" So I took my cigar, and I, turned it this way, and I kind of, burned the heck out of his shirt, and he's just standing there. And the next thing you know, he walks away, and it's this huge hole, and everyone's like, "Where did that come from? Who's smoking a cigar?" And I'm like, "Ah, time to put it out." Yeah,
That's funny.
So that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Hey, that's how you get guys away from you.
Well,
I'll keep that in mind.
I have an embarrassing story that's somewhat along the lines. I don't know, not really embarrassing, but the way it was handled was kind of along the lines of Scott's. A buddy and I, in the late 90s, on a nice late spring, early summer day, were heading down to my shore house. And at the time, I had a convertible car. And I won't say which brand, but it was a nice one. And less than a mile from my home, they always say accidents happen less than a mile. I pull down the road, I make a right turn onto a major road, and then I'm waiting to make a left turn on the next road up, and I see in my rear view a car coming barreling down at me. And both of us had very well-aged cigars in our mouth and were enjoying them. This woman, an elderly woman, plows into me. My cigar went flying out into the gully. His cigar went in the boot in the back and burned a hole in it. And fortunately, we were okay. I had a little cut on my forehead, and my car withstood like almost $30,000 worth of damage, and I could still drive it. But we lost two great cigars, and the embarrassing point was I got out of the car, and I started thinking about old phone numbers to make sure my head was still on fairly straight. And I was looking around in the gutter trying to find my cigar.
You didn't care about the car. You didn't look at the car at all.
No, I wasn't worried about the car. The cops were the ambulance and everybody.
Oh, good point.
This poor woman's her old Oldsmobile was smashed. Luckily, no one was in the passenger seat, or they would have been killed.
Wow.
But I'm looking around in the gully trying to find my cigar. I found the cigar. It was still actually burning. The problem was, this is I think of you when I think it is.
Gee, thanks.
Part of the cigar was in the wet muck. But I was tempted.
It must have been a hell of a cigar.
It was a really
Yes,
good
smoke.
cigar.
You couldn't just cut
Wipe
the
it
end
off.
off or something?
Nah, I didn't have a cutter there.
Oh,
No.
man.
So you said forget about it.
Yeah, I said forget about it.
But you
It's
never
funny.
forgot.
We do an event in Lansdale. They have a big beer fest, and we sell the Eduardos there, and a couple of our Eduardos have the foot band on them.
Right.
I can't tell you how many people are just standing there. They're walking away, lighting it. The foot band's on. I'm like,
It imparts a different taste to the
it
cigar.
sure
That's
does.
funny.
You have to ferment the foot band first.
Yeah.
And then it'll taste okay.
Double or triple ferment.
Triple is a good idea.
Well,
Do we want to hear an embarrassing story from our mystery smoker?
There's a
Oh,
good idea.
We have another mystery smoker
Yeah.
here. Okay, mystery smoker, let's hear yours. I can't see you. I can
Yeah.
hear you, I think.
Well-
But why don't you tell us about your embarrassing
Well,
moment?
my most embarrassing moment happened while I was a guest on your radio show. And I tried to tell a joke.
Oh, you'll never live that
Yeah,
down.
that was embarrassing.
That was a very
That was
embarrassing moment.
embarrassing.
Even though it didn't involve directly a cigar, it was a cigar-related embarrassing moment. Yes.
Do you want to try to tell us that joke now?
Negative, it goes
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Pattern full.
I don't have enough
That was
time for that.
that was a big no.
I think it's one of those moments where you quit while you're still behind.
Correct.
Yeah.
You can find that joke on our website.
Yes,
It's
and our
still on there.
website is
CCCigars.com.
That's cigars.com.
Very
Okay.
well.
Well, I think
Good
it's
job.
time I think it's time for another installment of Now Paul's in the Factory. So Paul, take it away.
Paul's in the factory. Well, when last we met, we had bunched our tobacco and we were ready to put a binder on it. And Scott, you had asked about what a binder is. And once again, it's the leaf that's designed or intended to hold all the filler tobacco together and control the rate at which it burns. So once the cigars have been bunched and bound, I guess
Bound,
you would
yeah.
say, bound,
Yeah.
then it's time to put the cigar in a mold. And a lot of people don't realize that cigars go into a mold but it's a very important part of the manufacturing process. For the sake of information,
Oh, you brought props.
I brought a prop.
Wow.
This is a traditional, simple cigar mold. It's made out of wood. It's a very hard wood so that the oils of the tobacco don't stick to the inside of the mold. Otherwise, the cigar would come apart when you try to take it out.
Right.
But as you can possibly see, the mold gives the cigar its precise shape. So what they do is they lay the bunched, bound cigar into that. You can put it down. And then the other side clamps onto it. And as the roller is working, they stack up a whole bunch of these, which then go into a press. In the old days, it was with a big wheel on top, and you'd crank the wheel, and it would just press this down. And you would leave it in there for about an hour. And after an hour, you'd open it up and rotate the cigar.
Yeah.
And the reason you do that is so that the edges of the mold don't create a little shape
Right.
on the cigar that you don't want
An
there.
indentation.
These molds more recently have been produced in plastic.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you're a big company and you're using a lot of molds, plastic is a good way to go.
They make
Although-
those molds
Pennsylvania.
in Pennsylvania,
right.
right near
Yeah.
Lancaster, right outside
We
Lancaster.
used to use them. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what else is interesting is I read something. Carlos Fuente actually said that one of the biggest contributing factors to the cigar boom in the 90s was the fact that they could start making them out of plastic, and because there was a huge demand and they just didn't have any molds.
Right.
And I think he met with somebody in Lancaster and
Yeah.
they developed it.
Yeah.
Does that ever like deteriorate or?
The wooden ones
Yeah.
do over time. The plastic ones will basically last forever.
Okay.
Of course, the real traditionalists would never touch a plastic mold because it's plastic. Then again, the real traditionalists don't use this kind of mold at all. The oldest method for making a cigar hold its shape is actually this. This is a cigar just wrapped up in a sheet of newspaper. And what they would do with it is twist the ends very tight as they possibly could, and then wet it down. And then put it aside.
They wet the whole
The whole thing.
Yeah, and
With
everything
water
was wet.
or?
Just with water,
Yeah.
just a little bit, just enough
Not soak
to
it.
hit the paper. You're not trying to soak the cigar. It's
Right.
just the paper. As it dries over the course of about a day, the paper contracts and it
Right.
gets tighter and tighter. So the paper acts as a mold. It actually gives the cigar its shape.
I think I saw that in the Cheech and Chong movie.
Yeah, well,
That's a different kind
that's
of
a whole.
cigar.
Yeah, I don't think there was tobacco in
It's,
it.
it was about the right size.
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Well, what was the story about that? They used a pound of kitty litter to make it menthol.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Okay.
I wouldn't know about that.
For my time.
Anyway, so the cigars go into the mold. And they sit in the mold for an hour, they get rotated, they sit in the mold for another hour, and everybody has their own approach to how long it stays in the mold. Once the molding is done, the pile of molds come back to the roller's table, and it's almost time to finish the cigar. But in a lot of factories, it's not quite time to finish the cigar. There's a very important step that comes next. This is the point at which, in an old school factory, a supervisor would lean over the roller's shoulder, take a bunch out of the mold, squeeze it, feel it, make sure that there aren't soft spots or hard spots. They might take one out of 50 or so and smoke it just to make sure that it draws right and that it functions the way it's supposed to. In a more modern factory, what they
machine.
do is they use a machine, and it's called a draw master. And the draw master is basically just a metal tube with a suction pump and a gauge and a foot pedal, because they actually use their feet to turn it on. And what they do is most factories will take a random sampling of cigars out of different molds and just stick it in the tube, step on the pedal, and it sucks air through the cigar. And it measures on the gauge how much suction is necessary to pull air through.
Wow.
So if it takes too much, that's no good, and if it takes too little, that's no good either.
So what do they do with those cigars?
Well, every factory does something different. The really big factories toss those cigars aside and put a different name on it and sell it for cheap.
Okay.
Really?
Wow.
We don't want those. We don't sell those either.
Not really.
Interestingly, some factories use the Draw Master on every single cigar
Yeah,
they make.
Rocky Patel does that.
I think CAO said they do that too.
Yeah.
CAO does, Rocky Patel does, Nestor Plasencia does.
It's labor-intensive.
We played an interesting game in our factory. What we did when we finally got a Draw Master, because it's a small factory, but when we got a Draw Master, we put it at the front of the rolling room, and each roller, when it was time for him to open up some molds and take out the bunches, had to go to the front of the room and measure every cigar in front of all the other rollers.
Wow.
And they got tremendous grief from the other rollers if too many of their cigars were too high
So
or
you
too
shamed
low.
them into rolling good cigars?
Well, that's exactly right. What we found was the reject percentage dropped like a rock once they were in front of all the other rollers.
Wow.
And
Peer
had to
pressure.
do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
peer pressure
pressure,
works.
yeah.
So that's the molding. And of course, there are different molds for each shape of cigar. Not just size, different shapes. And it might be worth talking about the different shapes of cigars briefly.
Briefly.
Yeah,
Briefly.
we
There-
go on forever.
That was enough. Thank you very much.
there are basically three types of cigar shapes. There are what they call parejos. A parejo is a straight cigar that has a rounded head, like this, and that's it. It's straightforward. There's no taper to the cigar. The second and those come in lots of sizes. The second category is what they call figurados, and that just means a shaped
Shape, yeah.
cigar. Generally, it refers to a torpedo or a bellicoso or a pyramid, which are the pointy cigars. Or it can refer to the very traditional perfecto, which is a cigar that's slightly pointed on both ends.
Yep.
And of course, the third category is the Salomon, which is generally a very large cigar. It's tapered at one end and has a little nipple at
Right.
the other end.
What about box pressed?
Well, box
that's
press
it,
could
yeah.
theoretically apply to any shaped cigar. There are box press figurados, there are box press torpedoes, there are box press straight. Box press has a very interesting history. 100 years ago or more, cigars that were box pressed were generally viewed to be cigars that were of an inferior
Yeah,
quality.
cheap cigars, yeah.
And the reason that they would that's changed a lot. The reason they were box pressed in the first place was if they were rolled by less experienced rollers, even the molding wouldn't firm up the cigar enough to hide soft spots, voids in the bunch. So they would put it in a very tight box. They'd squeeze the cigars in and age them in that, so that when you took the cigar out, you couldn't tell where the soft spots and voids were. So it was a way of hiding a cheaper cigar.
Gotcha.
During the cigar boom in the 90s, box pressing came back as a curiosity, and people sort of got into
like
it
it,
and
yeah.
decided to like it, and now box press cigars tend to be a little more expensive. In fact, box pressed has become popular enough that some of the companies actually get square molds.
I was
And
wondering about that.
They don't actually box press them, they just mold them square
I have a
to
lot of
begin
people
with.
to ask about that. I
Oh.
was never quite
Yeah.
sure.
Alec Bradley used to have one that was a triangle.
Yes, they did, the trilogy.
The trilogy, yeah.
I think that was very informative. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope our viewers are following each segment and learning a lot about the art of the cigar. Remember, it's cigars. Cigars are the stars. But I think next topic should be sports figures who smoke cigars.
Pete Rose.
Pete Rose.
Did he?
does, yeah.
I don't
he
remember
does. And he was on
smoking
that.
cigars.
He had a new reality show with the Asian girl, who was white, and they had the two kids, and they never paid attention to him. And he always had a cigar in his mouth.
Really? I did not know that.
I didn't either.
Oh, look at that.
Look at you.
Got
knowing
you
something
again.
we don't
Got
remember.
you
Thank you.
again.
Grab your cigar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This
I
one's
think
actually
Michael
older
Jordan
than
is
that.
probably one of the
Yeah.
most popular.
Yeah.
My
Athlete.
favorite. Go ahead. You
No,
got more to
just,
say.
I think he's one of the most popular ones who smoke cigars.
Bernie Perrant.
Bernie Perrant.
Yeah, I know
He
Bernie
has his
Perrant
own-
smokes
He has his
cigars.
own cigar line
Well,
too
thank
with
you.
Rocky
Yeah,
Patel.
he does.
very
That
much.
was good.
There's a lot of them.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Do you remember in the newspaper they had after the Phillies won the World Series in '08 they had a picture of Ryan Howard. I think
Yeah.
it was a Romeo and Juliet, right
Yeah.
there, right on the front page. Yeah,
Really?
we actually had it framed in the store for a while.
Well, again,
Then I throw it out.
being old school and older than all of you, not put together. My favorite is the Babe,
Yeah, big cigar
Forgot about
smoker.
him, yeah.
Babe Ruth.
Well, he was a big
He's a
everything.
big
Yeah,
everything.
who-
Yeah.
how can you not
His
get
mouth
hit?
like plays.
What's that?
Probably did.
Mouth like, look at
I wouldn't doubt it.
I wouldn't either.
Walking up, he'd throw it out or something.
I wouldn't doubt. He had the power to do that back then, so I wouldn't be shocked if that was the case.
If Uncle Max was here, we could have asked him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he would've
I think the mystery smoker has.
Our mystery smoker's going to chime in too.
I like boxing. It's Rocky Graciano.
Oh, Rocky smokes cigars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
been taking it back to the
Yes,
20s.
that's
Jerry
true.
Cooney was a big cigar smoker also.
Who was a big
Jerry Cooney.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, he wasn't much of a fighter.
Yeah, well, he had something going. He had good taste.
Yeah, you should have focused more on boxing.
Yeah.
He had a glass jaw.
Yeah.
Any other? Any
I have
other?
a sports and cigar trivia question, and I don't actually know the answer to this, so I'm hoping one of you does.
Well, we'll try.
Speaking of boxers, the boxer Hector Camacho.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is the Camacho cigar named for him?
No, I don't think
I
so.
don't think
doubt
so,
it.
no.
I doubt it.
We'll have to ask Christian.
People have asked me that, and I never quite knew the answer.
I don't think it is. I don't think so. Actually, I think that was Sal Fontana.
Sal Fontana named Camacho?
I think
named
so. Yeah. I
Here's
think
an
it was his
interesting,
company
interesting
originally.
bit of trivia. His son lives in Yardley.
Who's son?
it? Sal Fontana?
Sal's son? Yeah. I know he had relatives up
Yeah.
here. Yeah, I was not aware
It's
of
a
that.
it's a very famous neighborhood. You've got Paul Bush, Fontana's son, Scott Atkinson.
Oh my God.
is.
Who was that last one? I don't
Yeah,
recall.
really.
Oh, who that? Larry?
I got a really good one.
You mean old Baldy?
Since
Bill
we're all in the
Foley.
Philadelphia area, sadly he's no longer with us anymore. Harry the K.
yeah.
Absolutely. Big
Oh
cigar smoker.
man.
I used to love listening to him do a game, and in the background you can hear him.
Yeah,
lighting
lighting the
the
cigar. Yeah,
That's great.
Was he a
All right.
sportscaster?
he was
Yeah.
he was a very famous Phillies
Hall of
broadcaster.
Fame.
Yeah, Hall of
Hall of
Fame.
Fame, that's
Yeah,
right.
he tragically passed away a few years ago. All right, I think we've covered that topic, and I think it's time for us to review our Juan Lopez.
Yes. Again, the rating is 1 out of 5 cigars. I'll go first. Not really happy with mine because it kind of exploded, kind of unraveled a little bit. It's not burning evenly. Taste is, yeah, it's medium body, but that's all I have. I don't taste the mocha and the nutmeg. It's kind of bland for me. So, sorry, Juan.
How do you like
This
the
one-
band?
Nah.
Oh,
Oh,
I keep telling
Fans
you,
ain't making me
she's-
dance today.
She's a tough grader.
She is. This is actually the Juan Lopez is actually was reblended. It was an old Cuban
Yeah,
brand.
old
from,
Cuban.
I think
The
it started
oldest.
in like
This
1876,
is
I think.
one of the oldest brands.
Yeah,
They discontinued it.
and Altadis recently reblended it, and I love the cigar for a number of reasons. One is it tastes great. The construction's good. I for one really don't care if it doesn't burn evenly or not. As long as it tastes good and has a good draw, it's fine with me.
Look at that.
But I love the flavors of this cigar. It's a very affordable cigar
Yes,
in a
very
box,
affordable.
16 in a box, and I think the top price is $6 a cigar.
Yeah,
and
they're very
and
reasonable.
that's
that
for the
you-
big one.
Yeah, not
That's for the
bad.
big one. It is a fantastic cigar, and we just got them.
Paul?
I didn't want to like this cigar, but I do. To me, it is very classically Nicaraguan. Everything about the flavor is it's simple, it's earthy, it's got just enough complexity, it's got the hints of things, but it's basically got just a good, rich Nicaraguan tobacco flavor to it.
When I first lit this cigar up, it tasted a little waxy when I first drew in, but as it goes down, it mellows out. It's very good. I do get the nutmeg taste, little hint of cocoa.
Is that in the middle?
I do it. Excuse me.
Is that when you got to the middle?
Yes. Once I get to the middle, as I blow it through my nose, that's where I got that nutmeg taste. So that's where I get.
I didn't even get to smoke it all the way through, so
Oh.
I guess I missed all that.
My opinion, before we go to our mystery reviewer, is probably somewhere a little higher than Tia's and a little lower than Rob's. It's an okay cigar. I get the waxiness, a little flaky ash for my taste, too much. The best thing I think it has going for it, beside the band, I think the price is right. It's a decent everyday cigar. It's modestly priced, and you know, it's a cigar. I don't get the earthiness. I heard some comments. I don't quite get that, but it's okay. I mean, it's at the price. It's a good buy, in my opinion. Our mystery reviewer.
Well, it's a nice. I taste the hint of the woodsiness and the earthiness. It's a good medium cigar. It's not overpowering, and it's just. I actually got a little pepper hint out of it too.
Interesting.
So it was very good. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Well, I think it's time to go to our numerical rating.
Yay. 3.
Oh,
Wow. We're going to differ on this one. I'd give this a 4.5, and that's not even including the price. I really, really like this cigar. And I will note that I like the Toro better than this is one of those cigars where I think the size has a different flavor.
Size matters.
I like the Toro. I wasn't going to go there.
Size does matter.
Paul?
I give it a 3.5.
I smoke this cigar playing golf all the time, so I give it a solid 4.
I'm 3 7/8. 3.875. I'll split the baby.
Funny.
Our mystery reviewer?
I wavered a little bit, but I will agree with Rob. It's a 4, with its price and its taste. It's a 4.
Well, since Tia brought the overall flooring down, it only comes in at a 3.57.
Oh yeah.
Which isn't bad, and considering the price,
That's a shame.
it's actually a pretty fair cigar.
Much better cigar than that.
Well, it looks like, sadly, we're coming to the end of our show, and I think we should start telling people what we're going to do next week.
Oh,
So,
good idea.
Scott, Tia, why don't you quickly tell us?
What are we going to review next week?
We're going to review the Arturo Fuente Hemingway series, the short story.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
And then next week, our topics, of course, we're going to have Paul in the factory.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the dreaded tobacco beetle, which
Whoa.
you're going to want to know about that one.
Yes. Well, you don't want to know.
And we're going to talk about famous cigar smokers.
Okay, and thank you. And I think it's time for us all to bid our fond adieus.
Bye-bye for now.
Adios.
I said it, dude.
Ciao for now, everybody.
And thanks very much for viewing us again. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Max, what do you have for us this weekend?
Well, this weekend we're going to be doing our Pick Your Discount promotion.
Well, we'll have the lovely Miss Tia pick out your discount.
Wow, 40% off?
40%.
That's right, we're going to have discounts available all the way up to 50% off. Make your purchase, you reach in, pull out your chip, and whatever it says, that's your discount.
You can pick your own discount or have her pick the discount. Thank you.